Okay, yeah, use this ones that ends
Okay.
in 3C6.
All right, so we're just waiting on Jessica to come back.
Marco, could you also please make me a co-host again?
You should be.
Thank you.
All right, let me go ahead and start the webinar. All right, welcome everyone. Just going to give everyone a minute to go ahead and trickle in before we start. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and kick this off. Welcome to the Accessibility GOTV rally. My name is Marco Aranti. I'm the party business advisor with the Texas Democratic Party, and I'd like to introduce our vice chair of the Texas Democratic Party, Shay Wyra-Cathy.
Good evening, Democrats. I am Shay Wyra-Cathy. I am an African-American female. I'm wearing a pink shirt tonight, and my hair today is straight and curly. Tomorrow it may not look the same, but that's how my hair is today, and I'm so happy to be here with you on this Know Your Rights rally. I want you to know that Texas Democrats care about your rights, particularly your right to vote. And we want you to know your rights. We want you to know what to expect, because guess what? Election day begins tomorrow. Tomorrow is the first day of early vote, and you're going to hear from some of our great statewide candidates who are on that ballot. And we want you to know that when Texas Democrats win, and we believe that we will win, when Texas Democrats win, we will continue to advocate for your rights. We will continue to work to make sure that the field is as level as it can possibly be for all of us. And so I'm so happy that you have chosen to join us tonight to hear from these exciting speakers. And I want to introduce to you someone who is going to bring up these candidates and who is going to help us kick off this evening. And that is Jessica Anaker. She is the president of Texas Democrats with Disabilities.
Thank you so very much, Shay. Really quickly, I know that the captions has not gotten on the Zoom, and we are working on that as I am speaking, because we know that that is very important for all of our hearing folks that need that information. Want to say that, but that is, we're very much aware of that situation. Did want to let you know that I am a white female wearing glasses with long brown hair. One of the things I'm very excited about this particular cycle is the fact that we have people with disabilities in every single part of this campaign, from working in key positions and these top campaigns, all the way to having candidates running. Two of our folks are actually running for public office this year, who are very active, especially in our regular meetings. One is out of the Houston area, Judge Deidre Davis. So if you're in the Houston area, make sure you vote for them. And then another one who's actually running for city council in College Station is Nicole for District Place 5. So if you live in those areas, make sure you go out and vote for those folks, as well as everyone up and down the ballot. One of the things is we know what's at risk right now. We know what the Republicans are doing. We know that they don't care about us. You know, they have their particular agenda and they're pushing it. And they don't even think of how it affects our community. Look at what they did to the voting rights. They're so worried about that. Or look what they did just recently with the trigger law. Never mind the fact that they're talking about the fact that it affects people being able to get their prescriptions. We know our folks don't have the spoons to go to the drugstore, everything, or necessarily having the extra money to pay all of those deductibles for every week or every other week that they have to go to the drugstore to get those medications. We have a slate of candidates that actually gets it and they want to work with us and partner with us to get these things done. And one thing about disability issues are, well, like everybody else, our issues are the same. We want a budget that works for everybody. We want to be able to live as full lives as humanly possible, whatever it is. And so this is what's exciting, but we know we have some work that needs to get done. Just like every community, we need to get out the vote. And that's why we're doing this. The other reason is because sometimes it is hard to get out to all the different rallies as we live our lives. And so this is an opportunity for you guys to be able to get to hear some of these candidates just before early vote happens. And one of the things that you guys can do to actually help this is to get out and vote early. I know some of you have absentee ballots, and we're going to have Rose who's going to be able to talk to you about some of the stuff with that, with your rights. But when you get out and vote, it helps the campaigns immensely because they don't have to worry about you anymore. As well as we need you guys, if you're able to, go ahead, volunteer. We have 2 weeks left. You never know that one vote can make the biggest difference. As well as after the election is over, I encourage you guys to get involved with Texas Democrats Disabilities as well as your local county. I'm going to now turn it over to Marco for that. And do we have any updates on the closed captions?
Yeah, so it looks like I've enabled it, but unfortunately, the only way for us to get the captions on is to end the meeting for all and have everyone jump back in. If you all are fine with doing that and restarting it, I can definitely get the captions back on. If you want to unmute Jessica, sorry about that.
Because I know that captions are very important for all of you guys who want the captions. Do you want to go ahead and send a message to us? If you want to go ahead and restart this meeting to get that going, that way we can see that in the message board really quickly. Put, for all of you guys who can hear us, put a yes. For all of those.
Hey, Jessica, it looks like the captions are enabled on YouTube.
Okay.
Let's see here for the replay. If we want to do that instead of ending the meeting.
Yeah, you want to do it just on for the YouTube?
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll get the YouTube link. Drew, if you're able to drop that in the chat now, and then it'll be enabled on the YouTube replay. Sorry about that technical difficulty, y'all. Okay. So again, the captions will be available on the YouTube replay. You can go to txdem.co/live to be able to see those captions. And without further ado, it is my honor to introduce the next Lieutenant Governor of the state of Texas, Mike Collier.
Thank you, Marco. Marco, can you hear me okay? Can everybody hear me all right? I hope so. Marco, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. Terrific. All right. Well, hello, everyone. It's Mike Collier, Democratic nominee for Texas Lieutenant Governor. 61-year-old, white male, white shirt, white hair. Sorry, I couldn't offer any more than that today. I do have brown glasses on. I rarely am seen in public with these brown glasses, but they're my reading glasses, and it's been a long campaign. The only thing that seems to be wearing out is my eyesight. Everything else is strong. So I'm very, very happy to be with you this evening. And this is all about turnout, and turnout is absolutely essential on so many levels. I can tell you that all of the data that I've seen suggests that we will win this. We can win this. We will win this. I think Republicans would love for Democrats to think it can't happen, but I know that it can, and I know that it will. When Democrats vote, Democrats win. And you may have seen recently a poll from the New York Times that says the Beto is 2 points away. 2 points away is you are in the end zone, because there's a lot of folks coming out the vote this time who haven't voted for before, because the Republicans that have been in power for a long time have done a terrible job, which allows me to segue into the topic at hand. I think that our leaders, like the Lieutenant Governor, the President of the Senate, should really have relationships with, be friends with, understand, and talk to everyone in the state of Texas. And so when I think about Texans with disabilities, absolutely, certainly with you. And I believe that Republicans like Dan Patrick just don't care. They overlook your questions, your concerns. We know who they work for, and let's be honest, they don't work for any of us. They work for the large corporate interests. There's money involved. That's not going to surprise you. Well, that's wrong. And that's one of the reasons why I'm going to win, is because our Lieutenant Governor really needs to work for everyone, so that the legislature actually has your interests, your concerns, your hopes, your fears in mind. And so that legislation makes sense and helps people accomplish their objectives in life. You know, one of the things, and I'm going to cover a few points, I'm going to start someplace that I rarely start when I'm campaigning. I usually talk about the things that a Democrat Lieutenant Governor, this Democrat, can do for our state. But I'm actually going to start here by saying what the Lieutenant Governor can block. I don't talk about this often, but it's very, very important. Block bad bills that make things harder for Texans with disabilities. And without getting into too much of the details, I don't think that I have the expertise to get into the details, but I will tell you what I hear all the time is when it comes to voting and accessibility, this ain't working. This is not right. And so, and then this trigger law. Let's talk about this trigger law and banning abortion in all contexts. There's more than one thing happening here, folks. And it was mentioned in the introduction here. I mean, it influences whether or not you can get prescriptions. If Texans with disabilities need that medicine. And I don't know whether they intended it or not. I think it doesn't matter to me. They did it to you, and it's wrong. And a Lieutenant Governor who's got relationships with everyone, with Texans with disabilities, and I particularly like Texas Democrats with disabilities. I learned that it's TXDWD. I like that. Then Lieutenant Governor won't make that mistake. Lieutenant Governor will know. And I can assure you that on my staff, there will be at least one person who's very, very familiar with Texans with disabilities. It almost certainly will be somebody who has a disability. And the reason that I say this is that when the Lieutenant Governor sifts through all the bills and all the things that lawmakers want to do, let's have somebody who understands the challenges of Texans with disabilities look at these things and say, hey, don't do this because this is what's going to happen. Don't let this, sometimes you just make adjustments to these laws. They might be sensible laws, but unintended consequences are negative. So that's how we're going to solve that with me as Lieutenant Governor. You got to vote for me and I got to win, then we can do that. Let me talk about some of the things that I'm very passionate about on my campaign trail that apply to everybody. And certainly with no exception, Texans with disabilities. Let's talk about the grid. And as you know, the grid failed. It was not a surprise to the experts that the grid failed because they had been warning the legislature going on more than a decade. And the legislature ignored those warnings. In fact, the last time that ERCOT came around and said to the legislature, we're not going to survive a winter storm, they said in their presentation, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. ERCOT warned them again and again and again. They did nothing. And then failure comes. And what happens? They blame ERCOT. Fire the guy, fire the messenger. And what do they do next? Dan Patrick in particular. takes one of his big campaign donors and puts them right there on the ERCOT board. Now, you think that's intended to do right by Texans? Absolutely not. That's intended to do right by the folks that are making money thanks to this rickety grid that's really hurting us. And then if you think about Texans with disabilities, where so much of accessibility is linked to power supply, so much of survival for many is linked to power supply. So we have to fix the grid. Sometimes I say fix the damn grid. In fact, I often say that. So that's very important, as you know. The other thing I talk about a lot on the campaign trail is special education. I'm very focused on public ed. And a big part of public ed and successful public ed and doing right by the citizens of this great state is to make sure that we have the right special education instructors where they're needed. And it may be, you may know this, but it was the Houston Chronicle did an investigative report and discovered that TEA had clandestinely mandated that not more than 8.5% of the Texas students in public schools would have access to special education support. 8.5%. In the real world, the number of people that need, the number of our young people, our students that need special education, instruction, and support is much more than 8.5%. And so you hear terrible stories, and I happen to be very, very close friends with some parents of a daughter who needed support and was told everything's fine, she doesn't need help. Well, they knew that she needed help. They were being lied to because of this 8.5% cap. You get the right lieutenant governor, a Democrat who cares about Texans with disabilities, there will be no cap. And we'll have the right instructors at the right place to make sure that Texans with disabilities who will benefit from, who will profit from special education support have it. That's why you have to vote. And it's right there within your grasp. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about infrastructure. I talk often on the campaign trail about infrastructure because we aren't investing properly in the grid, for example, in transportation infrastructure, water infrastructure. But let's talk about infrastructure needs as it relates to certain, large cities, inner cities, where you got people that are trying to find work and they want to work, but there's a transportation issue. We need to make sure that there's clean water, power, all the rest. We need to focus on infrastructure to make sure that every community is lifted up by our infrastructure. And then let's talk about Texans with disabilities. There's a unique challenge associated with infrastructure. And when I talk to folks who are familiar with the concerns that Texans with disabilities have, I hear the same. One of the things I hear over and over is transportation to get to school, to get to work, to get to the hospital, to get to the doctor. It's particularly challenging for some Texans. Well, that's something that the state of Texas should do. And as Lieutenant Governor, I can tell you, I know that from talking to you and building relationships. And I know that the state agrees that we should do it. We just have the wrong Lieutenant Governor. So those are some of the things. I think we should think in terms of livable wage. I think we should go to $15 an hour. That's not going to surprise anybody. Democrats feel very strongly about this. I think for the hard work that you do, the value that you create for your employer, you ought to be compensated for it. We have a huge income inequality crisis in this state. And one thing that we should do, we never should have frozen the minimum wage where we did long ago. That was driven by nothing other than greed, and it was wrong. So we need to do that. So these are some of the many things that this Lieutenant Governor will do in office. And I want to leave you with one thought, and it seems simple, but it's very, very important thought. The Lieutenant Governor as a servant to the people of the great state of Texas who believes that every community should have a seat at the table and an opportunity to enjoy the great bounty and prosperity of this state. A Lieutenant Governor who has friends in these communities and listens and has folks from those communities, including the disability community, on my staff, so that we're doing right by every Texan. That's what the Lieutenant Governor should do. That's what the incumbent who I'm seeking to defeat has never once done. And we know it and we feel it, and people are hurting and they're frustrated and they're angry. And now is the time to vote to solve that problem. And if I am elected, and I say if, when I am elected Texas Lieutenant Governor, I can assure you that it will be an honor of a lifetime, and an honor that will compel me to serve you with all I've got. So with that, I'll close, and we're still on the campaign trail. I'm working extremely hard with the daylight that we have left, and not even just daylight, with all the time available to me to make sure that we win this. So I'll just close by saying I really, really appreciate the opportunity to say a few words. thank you for your support along the way. You all have been very, very helpful to me to get to this point over many, many years. We're now 15 days away, and we can win this, and if we vote. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. Really appreciate you coming out to the Accessibility GOTV rally, and wish you best of luck on the rest of the campaign trail. Make sure you get some sleep to be able to make to all your events and everything.
I'll sleep in November. I'll sleep on November 9th.
Great. Also, wanted to reiterate again, we have that a little technical glitch where the closed captioning is not on the Zoom. However, it's being live streamed live now on our YouTube. So I'll go ahead and paste in the chat again. If you need to go get the closed captioning, if you go to txm.co/live, that'll take you to our YouTube, and you'll be able to get the closed captioning there. All right. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you. See you out there at the polls.
All right. Now I'm proud to introduce a very dear colleague of mine who does important work. And of course, if you've worked with her, you know her well. She's fantastic. Our voter protection director, Rose Clouston. Rose.
Thanks so much, Marco. My name is Rose Clouston. I'm the voter protection director at the Texas Democratic Party. I am a white woman with hair about my shoulder, blonde hair about my shoulder length, and I'm wearing a black blouse with some white polka dots on it. So I am thrilled to be here with y'all today. And now that you know, have some great reasons to get out and vote and to share with your family and friends and network why they need to get out and vote after hearing from our next lieutenant governor, I want to make sure that all of you have the support and the tools that you need to cast your ballot and make sure that it gets counted. And, you know, Mike talked a little bit about our infamous Senate Bill 1 from last legislative session. And I was in many of those hearings and talked and heard very clearly from the disability rights community how the provisions that Republicans were pushing were going to make it more difficult for the disability community to vote. And fortunately, because of the advocacy of our Democratic legislators, many of those negative provisions were stripped out, many of the ones that would be most harmful, but we still did not end up with a bill that supported voter access. And so I want to make sure that you all have the information that you need to be able to vote. So can you see my screen now, Marco? Are we good?
Looks great.
Awesome. So want to start with the basics, a few key dates. If you are going to vote in person, early voting starts tomorrow in some communities at 7 a.m. and others at 8 or 9, but polling places across the state open tomorrow on Monday, October 24th. And we are really encouraging everyone to be an October voter, to get out and vote early if you can during the month of October. You can vote early at any polling place in your county. So you don't have to go somewhere specific. You can go near your work, near your home, near a friend's house that you're visiting. Go with friends. We highly encourage that. But you can vote at any polling place in your county. On Election Day on November 8th, that's your last opportunity to vote. You can vote at sometimes, depends on your county where you can go, if you have to go to a specific site or if you have the whole county still at your fingertips. But you can find out what the options are for you at mytexasvotes.com. Again, that's mytexasvotes.com. You can find your a polling place and the time that it is open. If you prefer and are able to vote by mail, if you are eligible, then your elections office has to receive your application by October 28th. If you haven't gotten that application in yet, though, I would highly recommend for us to find a way for you to vote in person if that's feasible for you, because of the time that everything takes to move back and forth. We're getting a little too close for comfort to that October 28th deadline. And then we recommend that you get your mail ballot into the mail by November 1st to give it a full week to get to your elections office. And again, make sure that there are no issues that arise. Your mail ballot does legally need to be postmarked by Election Day, November 8th and at 7 p.m. and received by 5 p.m. the next day, November 9th, in order to be counted. So I'm going to go into more detail, but wanted to start at that top level. But TLDR, if you have any questions or any problems or any concerns, we can provide personalized assistance to you or any member of your network, your community, We have a voter assistance hotline where you can talk to a trained, experienced person verbally at 844-TX-VOTES. That's 844-898-6837. But we also, in order to, in part, to become more accessible, we now offer a variety of written means to get support as well, from text message at 888-844-8683 to direct message on Facebook or Instagram to a chat on mytexasvotes.com. So there's a lot of different ways to connect with us and get answers to your specific questions. We're going to go into some details now, but wanted to make sure that you know that even if your question isn't answered tonight, that we've got your back and we are able to support you. So one thing that we hear a lot about questions about is in-person voting and curbside voting. Curbside voting is available at every polling place in the state of Texas, early voting and election day. If a voter is physically unable to enter the polling place, they are eligible for curbside voting. The process is that you notify the election worker that you need to vote curbside. The ballot or the machine is brought to your car, and then you can vote from within the vehicle. We do recommend that if feasible for you, you call the elections office ahead of time and say, hey, I'm planning to go to the multipurpose center at 2:00 on Wednesday to vote curbside. Can you give them a heads up? Sadly, not all of our polling places are fully equipped with the right technology to make it super easy to alert somebody independently from outside the polling place to the poll worker inside to say, I'm here to vote curbside. That is something we advocate for, and we have been pushing counties for several years and are making progress, but are not fully there. So that would be my recommendation, to call in advance, or you can call that elections office from there and they will let the poll worker know inside as a backup option. Another thing that can come up is if you would like to receive assistance when you are voting, have someone help you vote. If you are eligible for that assistance, if you need help reading or marking your ballot, you can ask a friend or family member to help you vote, or you can ask an election official to help you and the poll workers will provide that assistance. The folks who are eligible to receive that assistance are folks who cannot read or write, folks who have a physical disability that prevent you from reading or marking the ballot, folks who cannot speak English or who communicate only with sign language and want assistance communicating with election officials. So those three groups of people are able to request that assistance to have someone help read them their ballot or mark their ballot on their behalf. You do not have to provide proof of your disability, either for curbside voting or to receive in-person assistance. You will sign something that you are, pledging under penalty of perjury that you do qualify and you are eligible to receive this assistance or vote curbside, but someone can't say anything and challenge your right to do so in that moment. You're just attesting yourself that you qualify. And if anyone asks you any follow-up questions, you call that 844-TX-VOTES number, and we would like to know about that so we can make sure that they don't ask those questions of anybody else, because that is not allowed. One secret good thing that did come out of that Senate Bill 1 last year was an affirmation of disability rights under the Americans with Disabilities Act and how that applies to voting. Basically, what it says is that a person with a disability can request a reasonable accommodation or modification to any election standard or procedure that you are entitled to under federal or state law. That's a lot of legal words to say that you should be able to receive appropriate accommodations when voting, even if they violate other parts of the election code. A great example of this is if you use American Sign Language potentially to communicate, and normally I know a lot of folks would use a video call to call in a sign language interpreter. However, your cell phone is not allowed to be used in the polling place under normal circumstances. That is a great example of an accommodation that would fall into this category, where you should be allowed to use your cell phone to call in an ASL interpreter so that you can communicate with the election workers. This is a new provision, so I don't imagine that all the details are fully worked out. So do encourage folks to, feel free to advocate for yourself. And if you need that support, feel free to call or text us or reach out to us over those other means so that we can make sure to advocate on your behalf and get you the accommodations that you are legally entitled to. The other thing that applies to some folks is that if you have a mobility impairment, that the election judge is allowed to help let you go to the front of the line along with someone who might be accompanying you. If that applies to you, you can go to the front of the line and say, hi, I have a mobility impairment. Can I check in, in the next couple of minutes or so I don't have to wait in line and stand for long, because that's a challenge. And hopefully 90% of our hopefully 100% of our election judges use that discretion to be helpful to voters and to use common decency and sense and allow you to do that. But again, if someone is not following common sense and common sense, I don't know what else to say about that, then please give us a call or let us know and we can advocate for you as well. All right, so that's in-person voting. Voting by mail, the big boogeyman in this election because of Senate Bill 1 and the changes that it created. We know that a lot of folks had applications rejected in the primary and the runoff, and over 27,000 voters had their mail ballots rejected in the primary election in March. We have been working tirelessly with elections offices and your county Democratic parties and the folks that they appoint count these ballots to try to bring these rejection rates way down through voter education and making sure folks have the tools that you need to comply with the new law, but also to make sure that the folks who are administering the election and counting the ballots are doing everything within their power to support voters in this process and do voter education and mitigation and solutions when someone's ballot is rejected. But we have a quick checklist for you to make sure that if you are voting by mail, that your ballot is accepted and counted. First, don't stop at the top. We need your vote for every single Democrat on that ballot. Vote all the way down, especially if you are voting by mail. If it takes you 2 or 3 sessions sitting down at your kitchen table, that's okay. Take the time, vote for every single Democrat. It has never been more clear how important it is that we have our Democrats at the local level as well as the statewide level. When the pandemic was raging in 2020, it was our local county Democratic officials who were the ones implementing common sense safety measures to keep all of us safe and allow us to continue to try to have some semblance of activity going on. And then, of course, we know our statewide officials blocked those common sense measures that were important for safety, but it was folks at the local level that were doing so much work to try to keep us safe. And we need Democrats at every level in order to do that and implement those sorts of solutions. Second, add your ID numbers. Before you seal your carrier envelope, so you're going to mark your ballot. You're going to put that ballot in the ballot secrecy envelope. You're going to seal that up. Then you're going to put that little envelope in the bigger envelope. And before you seal that bigger carrier envelope, underneath the flap, underneath where you seal, there is what you see in red here at the top. It asks for your ID number. If you have both a driver's license or Texas personal identification card and a social security number, please put both of those numbers on there. The last 4 digits of your social and either your driver's license or Texas personal ID card number. That, if you put both of those numbers, that is a really good bulwark against getting, that is going to help your ballot get accepted. Because whatever, they have to match that ID number to the one that to one of them that they have on file. For 700,000 of us, the elections office only has one of those 2 numbers on file. So please put both if you have both. Then you're going to go ahead and, underneath that, there's an option to put your phone number and your email address. Please put that. I know sometimes we're like, well, I don't want to get spammed. I don't want to get called. If the elections office is calling you, you want to take that call. They are only going to call you to say, hey, there's a problem with your ballot. We need to talk about how to fix this. So you want them to have your phone number. You want them to give you a call if they're going to try to call you. Trust me, they don't have the budget to give you spam calls. None of our elections offices are rich. So please put your phone number and your email if you have one. Then you're going to seal your envelope up. And then across the flap, there is this red X, and you're going to sign there. You're going to add postage. In most counties, it's only one stamp, but USPS is not allowed to send your ballot back anyway, so they should put it through even if you're a little short on postage. And then we suggest that you get it in the mail by November 1st. Again, to make sure that if there are any issues, that there's plenty of time to get anything taken care of. And then if you have any questions, any problems, we've got your back. Call the Texas Democrats Voter Assistance Hotline, text us, DM us, carrier pigeon. I'll accept any sort of message I get to try to help a voter and make sure that you're able to cast your ballot. We value your vote so much. We will do anything we possibly can to help an eligible voter vote. We are like dogs with a bone is what I say. We're not letting it go until you're able to cast a ballot. We've sent folks out to, we're going to try everything we can. We also have access to some folks who give rides to the polls if that is a thing that you need. So you can give us a call and we can help arrange that if needed. All right. Well, I know we maybe had some questions available in some of the comments or maybe got some pre-questions. So I just want to see if there's anything that I didn't cover that was asked anywhere that we need to talk about.
Rose,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, yeah. One of the things that has come up is when somebody needs assistance and they're not being able to get, whether it's their caregiver, they want assistance from their caregiver and the polling judge isn't letting them do it, or you are somebody who walks in there and you're able to give assistance and they're not being allowed to do that. What would be the best course of action to deal with that? Because that's something that's come up and I've actually had that experience myself.
Well, first of all, I'm really sorry that that happened. And this is a matter of federal law. So this is not at the election judge's discretion. This is a matter of federal law. So, you know, we always want to assume good intent. These folks are generally just trying to do a good job and implement hundreds of pages of our election code in like one day in an impossible job. So don't assume that they're trying to prevent you from voting. They're probably just confused and scared themselves. So I would just suggest saying something like, I'm very confident that this person is allowed to assist me. Can you please double check your materials, check your manual, and let's see what it says about assistance. So you can advocate for yourself, just pushing back saying, I'm very confident I'm entitled to assistance. Please show me where in your handbook it says that this person can't help me. And then if that doesn't work, step outside or go outside and give us a call or send us a message and we can try to advocate on your behalf.
Rose, I saw a question someone had on YouTube. They said, if I get assistance from an election worker, does that mean that any poll watchers present can see my ballot?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked that. So that is one of the new provisions in Senate Bill 1, that if you get assistance from an election worker, that the poll watcher can observe that and has a right even to see your ballot afterward to make sure that the poll worker, that election worker accurately created your ballot, that they did as you instructed. And so that is a circumstance in which the secrecy of the ballot is allowed to be compromised under the new law. And unfortunately, that is what the law says, and what they are allowed to do. However, one exception, if you are working with the official interpreter, if you speak a language other than English and there's an official language interpreter who is there at the polling place as an election worker, and they interpret your ballot for you, they are not subject to that. How the legislature comes up with these machinations, I couldn't tell you. I was in the room for most of those discussions, and certainly it didn't make any more sense then than it does now. I would say just further evidence that you should vote against every single Republican who is in the legislature.
Rose, I've got another question. I think we saw on the YouTube is how can people volunteer? I know that you have some good ideas for that. One, like, obviously we're all, I think a lot of us here are all, local Democratic activists. Please visit your local campaign office. I know right now I'm down in the Rio Grande Valley at Michelle Vallejo's campaign office in McAllen, Texas. So, find your local campaign office, find your local county party, find people who are doing campaign work, and, try to help them do some voter contact, whether that's texts, phone calls, block walking if you're able, whatever that may be, to volunteer. Also, something that you can do remotely is please download our Connect Texas app if you have not already. I'm going to put the link in the Zoom chat right here. Let's see here. https://txdem.co. So that's txdem.co/get app. And actually, I'm not 100% if there's a dash in between, so I'm going to type both in the chat. But that allows you to see a lot of the messaging, talking points that we have, people that you can text bank, recommended actions. So that's also a great way to, do some actions and do some volunteer work. Rose, if you want to help answer that question.
Yeah, to Marco's point, to connect with those local activities in your area, you can go to our website at texasdemocrats.org and click on that events link at the top, and that'll show you what is going on in your area, whether it's block walks, phone banks, postcard writing, text banks, like all of the different options will be there. There's a lot of different stuff going on. And I put in the chat a TXDEM, if you specifically want to help with voter protection and help folks protect their voting rights, you can go to txdem.co/vopro, VOPRO, and we have some opportunities. You can be a poll watcher at a polling place in your community, or you can help answer those hotline calls that are coming in. And we provide training and support for all of the above. So could definitely use your help for any and all of that.
Rose, what are some other common questions that you get when people call in for help on the voter protection line that might be helpful to this community?
For sure. Well, I think to Jessica's point, the issues that affect all Texans also affect the disability community. And so one of the things that we hear a lot from everybody is folks move a lot, right? And what if I moved and forgot to update my registration by that October 11th deadline? If you're one of those many folks who that applies to, there's still an option for you to vote as long as you are registered in Texas already. There's an option for you to vote early at your main early voting place. I would encourage you to give us a call and we can help support you and let you know where that location is, what its hours are, and what to say when you get there to kind of say the magic words and make sure that they give you that ballot that you're supposed to get and address that properly.
All right, someone just texted me a question. Let me get to it. Rose, can you explain again the situation that would allow a voter to use their cell phone? I'm guessing maybe in the polling place, if you could go over that. I think the law changed a little bit on that, correct?
Sure. So the general rule is that a cell phone cannot be used within 100 feet of the door of a polling place, in large part to protect our privacy, not to have people taking pictures and intimidating people in the polling place, which is all fine and good. And we do not oppose this. But we know that sometimes folks with disabilities use their phones to have access to different services and to have accommodation and make sure that they are able to communicate effectively. And if that is the case for you, for example, if you use a sign language interpreter, an ASL interpreter, to communicate and you video call them, that is an accommodation under the ADA that would probably be allowed by the new law. So you can go up to the election worker and try to use that, or write down what the situation is and tell them that you need to use your phone in order to communicate effectively.
Great. Rosa, do you have any final thoughts or last bits of advice?
Just please get out and vote and be an October voter. Get your ballot cast. Be one of the first to vote for Beto and Mike Collier and all of our great Democratic candidates. I am so excited to be supporting all of them and to have them in office soon and get rid of all of these folks who do not care about our communities and our neighbors and working people. And just be an October voter. And if you have any questions or problems, you can call 844-TX-VOTES, or you can message us at mytexasvotes.com. We have a little chat guy at the bottom, and then there's other methods that I said. But please do not hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or encounter any issues. And even if you're able to deal with and the issue that happens to you, to Jessica's example, please still let us know so that we can help prevent that from happening to any other voters and make sure that the record is corrected. So thank you all so much. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you so much, Rose. We really appreciate you. Now, I'd like to bring on our digital director, Drew Corbett, who's going to talk to us about flashcards for our issues and candidates and what they are.
Hey, everybody. Thank you all so much for sticking with us through all of this. My name is Drew Corbett. Like Marco said, I'm the digital director here with the Texas Democratic Party. I'm a white man with brown hair, a robust brown beard, and a blue shirt with some white spots on it. Really, just briefly, obviously, we've between hearing from Mike and from Jessica and from Rose, we know the stakes are really, really high in this election. Me personally, I have my youngest stepson is autistic, and so having a lot of these understanding all of the hoops that folks with special needs like this have to go through are really, really important to me, and he's one of the big reasons why I'm fighting so hard in this election. So one of the things that we've worked really hard on is putting together flashcards for our candidates and for the issues that are on this election. And the idea behind this was that we wanted to really make sure that activists and folks like you are able to talk to their friends, your families, people in your social circles, even people that you just encounter on social media, to talk to them about the issues that are really important in their lives. So we put together two sets of digital flashcards, one set that's focused on the candidates and one set that's focused on the issues, especially some of the top line issues that are in this election. Best way that you can get to those is just go to our website, texasdemocrats.org. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the section that says what's on the ballot. And you can either go to our candidates or our issues. And I'll briefly run through what the candidate section of the page looks like. So as you can see here, it's broken down by our candidates in the order that they appear on the ballot. So you can start here with Beto and read some of the top issues that are some of the top issues that he is confronting on the trail. And so pick one out of the lineup here. We'll do another one that's important to me, fully fund and support public schools. We worked really hard to break this down into very, very easy to digest reasons for why it's important, how the candidate will deliver it, and I think most importantly, who you should talk to about it. So for example, on the subject of fully funding and supporting public schools, obviously the folks you should probably talk to about it are going to be parents, teachers and educators, or students. You can also look through here, lower property taxes. That's obviously something that's really important to a lot of folks. And so it's broken down on who you can talk to on those issues as well. Homeowners, renters, small scale landlords. But we have these in place for each of our candidates. So if you wanted to learn how to talk about Mike was gracious enough to join us today. And I get really excited talking about Mike to a lot of my friends. And this is a really good resource to be able to do that. So If you have folks who are really, really worried about, investing in rural communities, you can dive in here about how the specific policies that Mike has in place that will make sure that our rural communities are built up and get the resources that they need. And again, you can do that for everyone, for Rochelle, for Janet, for Jay, for Susan, and for Luke. All that's right there on the website. You can go to texasdemocrats.org and then find that link on that as well. And then we also have flashcards that are dedicated specifically to the specific issues that are at play in this election. So I think this one is really, really handy, especially because if you got somebody in your life that you know is very, very passionate about, let's pick one of these, about protecting our planet. Got kids, want to be sure that we leave a habitable planet behind for them, better than the one that they're set to inherit. So you can jump straight to the Protect Our Planet section, and then and you'll be able to see what each of the candidates have to say about protecting our planet, the specific policies that each of them would put in to do to protect our environment, protect our climate, protect our land, and protect our planet. So you can use these. These are a resource for you as you're having these conversations. You come across somebody that says, oh man, I am, somebody that's very passionate about reproductive rights. You can jump right to that and see what each of the candidates have to say about each of those things. We really wanted to make this as useful a tool for activists like you, so that you can talk to your friends and family about what is on the issue in this election. So again, best way to find that is go to texasdemocrats.org, and then I will show you how to navigate to that one more time, texasdemocrats.org, and then the section that says what's on the ballot, and then you can click on our candidates or on our issues. And that will help you talk to your friends and family. I can tell you personally, I know of 3 people off the top of my head who were reliable Republican voters, who are going to vote for at least some of the Democratic statewide candidates. Didn't get to win them all, but won a significant portion of them. So it's a really good way to be able to talk to your friends and family about what's on the ballot in this election.
Jessica, do you have any questions about flashcards or any reason why you really like the flashcards?
One of the reasons I like the flashcards is very often there's so many issues. It helps streamline what you can talk to people about, and you're actually using sort of the most effective language for folks. So sometimes I'm very guilty of going down the rabbit hole very often, and this gives you quick sound bites for folks. Because very often folks want to know quickly and easily why I should vote for somebody. So like I always like to say, is you're whetting their appetite and wanting them to know more, and you're talking about the real stuff. So that's what I liked about the flashcards. And they don't have to do a ton of research. It's there, you get it, you can let people know about it. Because that's what people, and let them know why we are different than the other side. That we actually know what we're talking about. We deal with the facts, and we have solutions of why getting these things solved. So that's why I really liked those options, and something that's easy to do for them. And you can tailor them to who you're talking to. If they really care about, you're talking to somebody who really cares about legalization of marijuana, which is huge for our community. It's there. There's stuff about healthcare. There's stuff about reproductive, about education, as well as, and then you can say, well, this is what this candidate's going to do. This is what that candidate's going to do. And it also lets people know, most people kind of know what the governor does, lieutenant governor, they have a good guess on what the attorney general does, but not everybody knows what the railroad commissioner does or the land commissioner and all these other folks. It lets people know, oh, so that's who deals with that, which is very helpful for a lot of folks because we're all very busy.
Yeah, that was certainly the idea behind the design. We Democrats have actual solutions to the actual issues that are actually impacting people's lives, and we want to make sure that we're able to talk to everybody in our lives about those solutions. So, thank you.
Great. Well, I hope you all were able to get a lot out of a lot of the resources we talked about. Again, If you guys want to watch the replay of this accessibility GOTV rally, you can go to txdem.co/live, and it'll go over to the YouTube, so you can see the replay and you can watch it on closed captioning. Sorry about that glitch earlier, and thank you so much for Mike Collier, our next lieutenant governor of Texas, who was able to come out and stump for a little while. Thank you to the vice chair of the Texas Democratic Party, Shay Wyrick Cathy, who was able to come. President Jessica Anneker of Texas Democrats with Disabilities, TXDWD, and all the Texas Democratic Party staff who joined. Jessica, can you close us out?
Yeah, thank you so very much for joining us. And as we get more and more going on, the more stuff we can work on. I'm very excited. I know we have the technical difficulty, but we're going to get better at that, guaranteed. And I encourage every one of you to get out and vote. And if you want to get involved, don't hesitate to step up, because we need everybody's voice. Don't forget to vote.